to episode 3 of my Cook With Me series. Today we're only going to be making one thing, but we're going to be making something amazing. We are making tamales, as authentic as a white girl can get. So I have some New Mexico chili pods. I have some Guajillo chili pods. I don't know how to say it. They're chilies. I've got my corn husks, my tamale masa. I could not find the wet masa anywhere, so we're making do with this. I used it last time and it turned out great. Got some garlic, got loads of onions from our uncle's garden, got tomato paste. I have the tamale pork already ready, the broth in that for the liquid in our chili sauce. And we're gonna get started on our chili sauce right now. So we're gonna throw a couple of both kinds of chilies in a pot with some water. All right, so I've got my chili pods ready. Something to keep in mind, the New Mexico chilies are a little bit spicier than some of the other varieties of chilies. So if you want something more mild, just get a milder chili. We like spicy, so I'm gonna use a bunch of the New Mexico chilies. And you're just gonna take the stems off of them and take and dump the seeds out. I have a disposal in my sink, so I'm just gonna dump them right in my sink. Once they're stemmed and seeded, just drop them in the water and then you're good to go. Just pop them in the water and then we're gonna simmer them for like 20 minutes, get them nice and soft, and then we're gonna add them with the rest of the ingredients to the blender to make our chili sauce. Okay, so while our chilies are going on the stove, we're gonna go ahead and get started on our masa. Got my big old tub of crisco. Lard is preferable, but we're gonna use crisco because it's what I've got. And just so you guys know how much I love you, I never measure anything. I don't like following recipes. So I'm measuring this out for you guys and I'm gonna get as close as I can to, I guess, perfect measurements for my recipe. I go off of like what it looks like. I don't go off of measurements, but I know a lot of people need measurements, so that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna go with about probably 2 cups of crisco or lard. Lard's gonna give it a much better flavor, but like I said, crisco's what I've got, so that's what we're working with. Beat this for, I wanna say like 10, maybe 15 minutes. You want the consistency to be light and fluffy, like, you'll see. We'll mix it and I'll show you in a minute. But we are gonna mix it on high. And I'll set my timer. Last time I just kind of did it by sight, but I'll go ahead and set the timer so you guys know exactly about how long to beat it, and then I'll show you guys, I probably shouldn't have said that, to mix it. Let's say mix it, I like that better. And then I'll show you guys kind of the consistency of what it's supposed to look like before you add your masa. It helps if you plug your mixer in. It works better that way. All right. Power! Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes. You guys can see the consistency of this. I'll bring the camera closer. All right, so you guys can see the consistency. It's not runny, but it's not as stiff as it was before. So it's almost the consistency of like marshmallow fluff, which is exactly what we want. We're just gonna scrape the sides of the bowl down and then we're gonna get ready to add our masa. Okay, so for our masa, this is where I'm not a fan of measuring because I like to eyeball it, but for you guys, we'll measure. All right, so I've got about 3 cups of masa. I'm gonna go ahead and add my water now. You can mix it with a spoon. I like to mix it with yeah. Hold on, I'll get it. I like to mix it by hand so I can feel the texture, because texture is key here. You don't want it too crumbly, but you don't want it to be runny or too wet. So I'll go ahead and add my water now. If you can find the wet masa, get it. It saves you this step. Something to keep in mind, where you live is going to affect how much water you have to put in, so kind of play with it. And that's why consistency is key, because measurements matter kind of, but this is more of a feel. 3 cups of masa and 2.5 cups of water. I think that's good. It's sticky, but it's not too sticky. It doesn't crumble when you squeeze it. It just kind of oozes out everywhere. And that's exactly what we want. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add this wet masa directly to the whipped crisco that we've got here. Go ahead and mix that for another 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're gonna add some liquid to it. And the reason you wanna whip it, mix it so much, you want it to break up any little clumps of masa. You don't want any masa balls mixed into your masa, any dry masa mixed into the final product, I guess. Because when you bite into a tamale, you want it all to be seasoned and all the same consistency. You don't want to bite into a tamale and have a bite of dry, unseasoned masa. That's not going to taste very good. So we're just going to add this straight into our mixing bowl. And like I said, we're gonna mix it for like another maybe 5, maybe 10 minutes. I'll mix it and I'll time it and let you guys know how long it was. Okay, so the masa is ready. I'll bring the camera closer again to show you guys the consistency of it. Okay, so this is the consistency. So you guys can see it's light and fluffy. It's very poofy. So I've strained about a cup of broth out of my the tamale pork. I'm just gonna start mixing this and slowly add this. Like I said, I've got about a cup of it. I'm gonna add just a little bit and make sure that the consistency is right before I add the rest of it. So we let this go for about 10 minutes. I'm making a mess here. And it is perfect, I believe. So the consistency is just a little bit different than what it had been before we added the sauce or the broth. Just make sure, give it a quick stir. Make sure that it's all been mixed up and incorporated, so there's no unseasoned masa. All right, and I don't think I said before, but I added about 3/4 of a cup of broth to the mix to get to this consistency, and then we beat it for 10 minutes. So it's so light and fluffy. It's about the consistency of a really good like buttercream frosting. So that's ready. I'm gonna set that aside real quick. Our chilies have been done for a while. They've just been kind of simmering or sitting with the heat off. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna get cleaned up a little bit. I'm going to move my blender back over here and we're gonna get started making our chili sauce and then we'll let that set aside. It's gotta simmer for a little bit after it's completely done. So while that's simmering, we will get the tamales started getting all put together and ready to steam. So that's where we're at with that, so I will be right back. I decided to try something different this time. I decided to try and char the chilies, just blacken them a little bit before I add them to the blender to make the sauce. So I pulled them out of the saucepan that I had them in. I've just got them sitting over here on some paper towels, kind of just letting some of the liquid seep out so they don't splatter. I have in my cast iron skillet about 2 tablespoons, a tablespoon and a half, 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Right now I'm letting that heat up. I've got it over about medium-high heat, and I'm going to add my chilies just a couple at a time, probably. My hopes in doing this is it'll add kind of a smoky flavor to the sauce, which I think would be cool. And I know that if you're charring them in oil, that does bring out a little bit more heat out of the peppers. And we like spicy food, so that's kind of my goal here, is to bring out as much heat as possible without having to use a ton of chilies and extra ingredients to get to that heat level. Go ahead and start adding some of the chilies. I do recommend for this, because there is so much water in them, have a splatter screen. I have an old one right here. But have a splatter screen, so when you add your chilies to your oil, to your hot oil, cover them immediately if you don't want to have to totally scrub your stove afterwards. See what I mean? I'm just going to keep this going for just a few minutes. I'm going to finish with the peppers. I have my onions and garlic over here, and I'm considering throwing my garlic in with the peppers and kind of getting the flavor all going and seeing what we can do there. So you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go ahead and do that right now. I've got about 7 cloves of garlic. It was like one small head of garlic. I used an entire one. Got all of that there. All this beautiful garlic you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and toss that in. Alright, and note to self, I may need more olive oil. Peppers drink that up pretty quickly. They're beautiful. I wish you guys could smell it in here. It smells fantastic. These are not taking that long. The one side already has a really good char on it. So I'm going to let those go for just a minute or 2 more, and then I'm going to add them to my blender, and then I'll go ahead and do the second batch of chilies and show you guys what they look like when they're done. That's what they're looking like. Some pretty blackened ones in there. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. They smell amazing. All of us are coughing, so obviously they're going to be good if we're all coughing and happy. You can hear my kids in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move the camera back, and then we're going to go ahead and get started blending all of this sauce up. We got the chilies in here. Not clean up a mess. I have about six small onions. They're pretty small, so I've got 6 of them. If you're using a regular onion, like a regular store-bought onion, go ahead and add like one. Sorry, y'all, I'm gonna rinse that off. Add 1 large onion, just roughly chopped, and just toss it on in there. So we've got our garlic, we've got our chilies, we have our onions, and I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. Not much. I just like the flavor that it adds to this. I'm going to about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I know that a lot of recipes call for a like making a roux out of like butter and flour and the chili powder and stuff like that. I don't do that. I don't make a roux. I just add everything to the blender, and then I fry it in olive oil in a cast iron skillet. I just kind of fry it up for a little bit, let it simmer, and let it thicken up a little bit. And that's worked really good. So I've got my tomato paste here, and I'm not going to add. That happened. I'm not going to add a lot of tomato paste. I'm just going to add about 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. I swear you guys, I cannot talk at all. I can't. Words do not work out that well for me. Alright. We may add more tomato paste, I'm not sure. I normally use tomatoes, but I did not have any. And my wonderful mother-in-law, I told you guys, I just can't talk. My wonderful mother-in-law told me to go ahead and use tomato paste and it would still work. So that's what we're doing. All right, and now I need to get out some of this broth. We're gonna use 2 cups of broth from the tamale pork. All right, so I just made a huge mess in that process. We may need to add a little bit more of the broth, but we're gonna mix this up, get this started, and then kind of see where we're at from there. I'm gonna add some salt. I like the pink Himalayan salt, but you can use whatever salt you want. I'm gonna add about a teaspoon, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it, you guys, but a teaspoon is kind of about what you want. But you can always start with less and then add more to taste as you go. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of all of these seasonings. I've got my ground black pepper. We're gonna add about a teaspoon of that, and the black pepper is optional. Again, it's just preference. I like the flavor of it, so that's what I'm doing. I have some Mexican oregano. I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of that, and then I have cumin. And cumin, I would start with. I'm gonna add a full teaspoon to mine because that's what I like. Start with about a quarter of a teaspoon of cumin and taste it as you go. The cumin can get pretty strong pretty fast, so again, add it in small increments and kind of build up to see where you like it. And then we're gonna go ahead and blend this up. Alright, so see how it tastes. Oh my gosh, it smells so amazing. That'll work. I'm gonna add a tad bit more salt. Ooh, that heat sneaks up on you. I'm gonna add about a half a teaspoon more salt. And this did get super thick, so I am gonna add a little bit more broth to it. But I'm just gonna mix it up, and then we're gonna start building our tamales and getting ready to cook. Woo-hoo! Our corn husks are ready. I've got my tamale pot here, and I'm going to add, I have the little insert in the bottom of it, and I'm going to, I've got like 8 cups of water here, so I'm going to add some of that water. I'm not sure how much. I'm going to kind of eyeball it. See, I added about 6 cups of water. About 6 cups of water to the bottom of the pot. We're gonna let these go for about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. We're gonna kind of eyeball it, and then we're gonna turn the heat off and let them set and cool off, and then make sure that they set up. All right, so I've got all of my stuff here. I have my tamale pork right here. I have my masa. I'm going to move this over here, just assemble, get a little assembly line going. And then I have my sauce. All right, and then this is very important. I have a little bowl of water with a spoon. I had a friend tell me that while you're spreading the masa, because I just spread it with a spoon, so while you're spreading the masa, have a little bowl of water and just dip it in the water every once in a while, and then it'll be, the masa won't stick to the spoon as bad. All right, got my spoon in the water. Just gonna get some of the filling there. All right, so just kind of eyeball it. I don't know. I use, I guess, about 1/3 to 1/2 of a cup of the filling. It just depends on the size of the corn husk. And then just spread it out. And again, the spoon and water thing is working great. So thank you, Erin, for that tip. That's fantastic. All right. If you notice, I am spreading it on the wide end of the corn husk. All right, I am gonna end up setting this down. It's getting too fluffy. All right, so spread it. Make sure that you're spreading it evenly, as even as possible. You don't want some really thick parts of masa and then some parts that are too thin. I managed to get that all over my hands. All right, so once you have all your masa spread out, you're going to use about, I want to say, 1/4 cup of the filling, and make sure that most of the liquid is drained out of it. Put that right there in the center. I've got just a regular spoon here, and I'm gonna grab a little bit of the sauce, the chili sauce that we made. Like a teaspoon of it, I wanna say. And then we're just gonna put that over the top there. Just drizzle it over the top a little bit. I'll just fold it over and wrap it kind of tight. You don't want it too terribly tight. And then get your little tail. Just go ahead and gently fold that up, and then we're gonna stick that right in the pot. If you guys have some of the filling just leaking out a little bit, just wipe it off and you'll be good to go. All right. Fold that tail over, add it to your tamale pot, and you're just gonna keep going like that until you run out of either corn husks, masa, or filling. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna finish these up, and I will be back here in just a minute when I finish them up and we're ready to start cooking. Alrighty, so I have the tamales all assembled and in here and ready. I don't know how many it made. It did not make as many as it did last time, which I guess is good because it made like 50 tamales last time. So I think it made about 25, 30. I did not count them. Sorry, guys. I've got it on high right now, on high heat. I'm going to bring it to a boil, and then I'll turn it down to about medium high heat, and cook it for about 30 minutes. And I'll see you guys when they are done and we do our taste test. Okay, so they're all finished. They don't look that pretty, but they just came out of the pot just a little bit ago, so they're still a little bit mushy. They haven't set up yet, but I can't wait. So I'm gonna taste one. Oh my gosh, those are really good. Those are fantastic. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you make them, let me know. If you do anything different with the recipe, let me know. Let me know what works, what didn't. If you want to see anything else, just let me know down in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys next time. Right now, I'm going to go finish devouring these. Bye!